Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Miles. I'm back with Team Bodysport Fitness, and I'm here today to interview an amazing person who I had the pleasure of meeting about 9 years ago, Mr. Todd Burrier. Todd is the author of Three Circles Living. He is a fitness and home business entrepreneur and a wellness professional, and he has a very extensive background in the fitness industry and a lot of experience in terms of not only keeping himself in shape, but helping others to be successful in fitness and in life and in health. And Todd, thank you for taking the time to visit with us today. And I appreciate you and welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. It's an honor to be here with you. And you know how I feel about you, so I'm happy to do it.
So I have some questions for you because a lot of things I'm trying to do is inspire people, and it's sometimes more beneficial to inspire them through others. And so I try to find people who are successfully living a fitness lifestyle. And for a lot of us who are now not 29 anymore, because I'll be 67 in a couple of months, and you're 61, I believe.
Now I'll be 65 in 2 months.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's how good you look. And I have this philosophy of we can, with the right lifestyle, kind of redefine what aging is and how people see it and how we live it. And I want to show examples of that. So when I said that when I was younger, it's people say, yeah, right, whatever. But now it's easier to see or show them by my example and by examples of others. And so you have lived an incredible life and you do some amazing things and have helped a lot of people. But I want to talk to you about your fitness program and how you got to that point and what you do to keep in shape and how you approach that. So where do you first get interested in fitness or health? I know you played basketball. Was it through sports or was it through, someone teaching you something, or how did what was the genesis of that for you?
So I'll try to keep it short, Kevin. As you know, I'm an extemporaneous, so I might go anywhere. But it wasn't because of sports. Yeah, I played sports. I love sports. I played competitive basketball well into my 40s. But there was several years in my life where I was the opposite of fit. I don't have very good genetics. I had my brother who died of cancer, a father who died of cancer. My father died when I was 18. My brother died at 42, so neither lived out of their 40s. And I lived on the other side of the tracks for 12 years. I talk about this quite a bit in the book, but where you name it and I put it in my body. And I'm talking about anything that you could self-medicate with. And really what got me interested in taking care of myself was meeting an amazing woman and getting married and starting a family. And it was in that space where I started to think about, how do I avoid what so many people in my family and what I see a lot around me happen? How do I avoid cancer? How do I avoid heart disease? That's where it started for me. And of course, all of us want to look good. There was a period of time when I was working a more traditional job in my late 20s where I put on a lot of weight fast. And I had a buddy at the beach one day look at me and he goes, "Dude, you're getting fat." And I'm like, that hit me. It hit me. And so that was when I started exercising a little bit on purpose, but I didn't, I wasn't really focused on wellness. I was still a maniac. I just didn't, I cared about how I looked. I was single. And so really the true genesis was starting family. And it was no longer about me. And then I started doing a deep dive. And it became pretty obvious what are the things you need to do to be healthy. You gotta move your body and you gotta put good stuff in it. That's not rocket science, it's fundamentals. So that was the genesis, and that was approximately 35 years ago. 1991 was when I really got serious about it. And I'm pretty sure that had I not gotten serious, you wouldn't be talking to somebody right now. Or you would certainly wouldn't be talking to somebody you'd want to interview for this, but I wouldn't have lived. I mean, I was fortunate to have lived to get to 30 with the way I was living.
Wow, that's amazing. And when I try to coach people, one of the things I tell them is you have to find that why, that reason why you're going to do this, that's going to drive you, and then nourish that drive so that you stay with it. Because yeah, looks are one thing, but a lot of times it takes a while to get there, and it's not as fulfilling as you would think it could be in terms of keeping people going. And so if you find something else, for you as your family, so from people it's their health, and unfortunately a lot of people wait till there's a problem, like a medical issue or something like that, till they really start prioritizing themselves, and they don't really do it the way that they should. And I try to teach that you need to prioritize yourself and taking care of yourself, and prioritize fitness. If you do those things and put them in the forefront, then it's easier to make those decisions and stay with it. And you actually wrote a book called Three Circles Living that really brings all that into play. And we've all seen people that do things in what we could call the wrong order, and it leads them to places that they don't really want to be. So can you tell everyone about Three Circles Living and that philosophy, and how that book came into being?
Yeah, so that book actually, the genesis of that book started at about the same time that my taking care of myself started. I had been I'd started my own business in 1989, and it took about 18 months, but I was having a lot of success, which I'd never had success in anything before. I'd never made any money. I didn't come from money. I didn't have a money mindset. I'm still not driven by money. I've never been driven by money, really. That was probably the closest to ever. I got caught up in it, which is natural. It's part of our conditioning. And I had a realization one morning that, I'm sitting at my desk in my office. I'm like, what is going on here? Because I was miserable. I mean, miserable. And I was sitting there thinking, what is the deal? I'm getting awards, and I'm earning more money than I ever imagined, and I'm succeeding. How come I'm so unhappy? And it was pretty easy to figure out why. I mean, obviously, because I figured it out, and I'm not the brightest bulb in the package. But at the time, my health was horrible. I was sick all the time, and I had a lot of health issues as a younger man. I don't have any now. I don't take a single medication. I have energy to burn, and my health was bad. I was sick all the time. I had no energy, and my marriage was not doing well. And it wasn't my wife's fault. She's awesome. It was me not showing up in my marriage, and it was sort of an aha or an oh no moment, however you want to look at it. And that's when I made a commitment to try to figure out how to do it the right way, because the gist is that your health is involved in everything you do. If you don't take care of your health, nothing that you do in your life will ever be what it could be. And as you get older, that's compounded by the nature of your body being less efficient, and you having to work even harder and be more specific in the things that you do. But then the second part of that is you take care of yourself, but as you said, you need a why, right? And I've seen this among the people I've coached and mentored in my career, which I've been very blessed to have coached and mentored people at very high levels all over the world. And it's really hard for people to do something for themselves, which is ironic. It's ironic, since by nature we're selfish, and we have to become more self-aware, and we get a little more wise, and we realize, what, life's not about us. So life is truly about what we can impact with others. That's really what life is all about. But why do people fall short on their goals? Because it's hard, right? It's hard, and nobody's holding them to doing the thing for themselves, so they don't do it. And so you got to have something bigger. For me, I got at this, this was what, I was 30 at the time. And I got at that point that it's not about me, that I needed to take care of me so that I could show up for her, so I could show up for Melanie and for my children. And so that became the thing for me. That was my accountability. How can you serve a relationship when you're not doing well yourself? It's very difficult to serve well when you are not doing well, right? If you don't feel well, I mean, that's pretty, it's again, this is obvious stuff when you really think about it, but when you don't feel well, you don't do well in anything, and you certainly don't have patience, and you don't listen well, and you don't, right, you know, all that stuff. And so the three circles philosophy, which I didn't have a roadmap for, I pursued roadmaps. There weren't any. Nobody had, you know, the whole work-life balance, which is a misnomer, right? Life is way bigger than work, so don't try to balance those two. Work is a piece of your life. And so there was no content out there that was very specific. And so I just was pulling from this and pulling from that and trying to figure it out. But the gist was, you take care of yourself first so you can best show up for the people you love. And they require time and attention. They don't require things. If someone requires things in order to be with you, that's not a relationship I think you should continue with. And so when you get those two things, and this is the sweet spot in life, when you take care of yourself, you have more energy. Energy is your currency. And that allows you to invest time and attention to the people that you care about. And your whole life is relationships. When it's all said and done, the only thing that's going to matter in this world are the people you have connection to. That's it. Right? And when you do that part, see, when you take care of your physical self, you have energy, you have vibrancy. When you invest in other people that you care about, you have joy. And you have you're very grounded. And then when you apply that to whatever you do for a living, you can be all in when you're doing that thing. You can be focused because the other things that matter are doing well and they're feeding your energy. And that was my whole philosophy, or what I came to philosophically. And then I built that platform and I literally planned it out. I mapped it, I worked it, and it was all just every area is a set of fundamentals. And the result was a life I never, ever, ever could imagine I deserved, and how I live now. That doesn't mean it's not, you know, I don't have struggles. There's no such thing as no struggles. That's part of being a human. Life's hard. It's never not going to be hard. But it can be so fulfilling and so joyful, and there can be so much of it when you have the energy and you have love in your life. But you don't get those two things just because you exist. You're not entitled to those. You have to work for those, and that work isn't difficult. So that is Three Circles Living, which I eventually wrote in 2019 is when I wrote the book. And it wasn't on my radar to write a book. I've written 6 books, but that book wasn't on my radar to write. It was my wife that's like, Todd, because I was teaching it. I'd been teaching it for 15, 20 years by that time. And I'd had people who would, I wouldn't even know. I'd teach it like just as a short part of different seminars. And I'd people reach out to me from the seminars 3 months later, 6 months later and say, you changed my life. I'm like, what do you mean I changed your life? You go, when you taught me Three Circles Living, it hit me so hard that I completely reevaluated my life and it's so much better. I'm like, wow. And so Melanie's like, Todd, you're going to have to write this book, because if you don't, someone else is going to. I'm like, okay. So I wrote the book in 2019. And, you know, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a self-promoter. I just wrote it because I was called to write it. And my wife told me to. And I think it's important to keep her happy. But so I wrote it, and it's been wonderful. It's really helped a lot of people.
That's amazing. And it's a great book. And the three circles actually are health and relationships and finances. And those are the 3 areas of focus. And it's really the order in which that you focus on those things, and focusing on your health first, that's going to allow you to maximize yourself in those other areas. And we have countless examples in our lives of people that focus on one of those other areas, and you can see when things start falling apart, or they can all fall apart at once. And it inspired me and enlightened me, along with just things that I was seeing, that as a trainer and a coach, seeing people not be successful with their fitness program, it wasn't about the information. It was about them not prioritizing themselves, them not prioritizing their health. And I'd see the examples over and over of people that they got so caught up in their business. And I had this one client I worked with for a while, and he came to me. He wanted to do this program, and it just never launched for him. And when I tried to reconnect with him, his business was going great. He had taken him over, but he had not started a fitness program, and then he was going through a divorce. And so there's other things in his life that were just not getting there. And it's a little bit of a trap because we're not taught to take care of ourselves first and prioritize that part of us, and like we're being selfish or something. But it's like the old saying about, being in an airplane and that oxygen mask drops down. You got to put your mask on before you can help anyone else, or you're just not going to be there for them. And it just teaches people that that's okay, and that not only is it okay, but it's actually ideal, because now you're going to give a better maximized version of yourself to those relationships, and a better, more maximized version of yourself into your business endeavors, and things that you are otherwise important to you and your heartfelt interests, by taking care and investing in yourself. So it's great that you live that and teach that, and I know you've helped a lot of people with that. So congratulations on that. And I'll put a link in the description to Todd's book, Three Circles Living, and I strongly suggest you guys check it out. It's amazing. And I get what you're saying about not planning to write a book. My first book that I wrote, I just was writing some notes and then trying to rewrite them. And later on, it's like, gee, this is a kind of a book, and that's how that came about. But so that being said, now let's talk about your fitness program and how you take care of yourself. And throughout the week, like, what kind of things do you like to do? What kind of activities? What kind of exercise? I know some of these answers that I just want you to share them with everyone else, but I think it's great what you do.
So, there's a lot to it and there's not, right? So one is obviously, I do purposefully work out 6 days a week. I don't use weights, but I do work out 6 days a week. I also do what I call active rest. I do that pretty much 7 days a week. And that is, I love to fish. I like to crab. I like to be on the water. So 6 to 7 days a week, weather permitting, I might walk 2 or 3 or 4 miles in the river and wading and fishing or crabbing and playing with my dogs. I'm very, very active. But the core is my morning workout. So I mean that is, it doesn't matter where I am on the planet, that takes place. No matter what. It's not an option. I don't look at anything that is important for you as optional. And like everything, it always has to start with mindset. You talk about why, start with mindset. And really, mindset does have to come before commitment, because mindset for anything that you decide to do has to be that it's not optional to do it, because you're not going to feel like doing it. Most mornings I wake up, I don't feel like doing it, but I don't even consider whether I feel like doing it. I just do it. And then I feel great. But, some of that, and I talk about this in Three Circles Living, that's just my brain chemistry. I was blessed with the anxiety gene and a little bit of whatever the chemicals are, you can name them, that help you be happy and bright. But I didn't get a whole bunch of those. I have to work to make that happen. But I work out very intensely, and I purposefully push myself to do things, which is why I do body weight. I lifted weights for a long time. I never lifted the way you did. I mean, I never got really big and strong like you. I lifted for fitness, but I lifted weights for a long time. And then the year I turned 50, and this is just bizarre, but it changed the course of what I did for the last 15 years. I'm going to set some goals this year. I'm going to set a goal to do 50 dips in a row, and I set a goal to do 25 pull-ups in a row. Now, I set these goals without any baseline. I had no idea. I'd never even done a pull-up. I had no idea how many pull-ups I could do. I had no idea how many dips I could do. And I'll never forget the first day I went into the gym to do them and see what my baseline was. And it almost killed me to get 12 pull-ups. I'm like, oh my gosh, 25 of these in 6 months? I don't know. But then that started that journey for me. And now my people think I'm crazy, but it's just what I do to to push myself, because also I understand, and this is off topic but not, and I understand the character development of pushing yourself through things that are hard, and this is the one thing that everyone can control that's transferable to every part of your life, and that is you set something in fitness, because a fitness goal, unless it's something that's egregiously beyond where you are, like you're a 40-year-old man, and you decide now you want to have a 50-inch vertical jump, that's probably never going to happen, right? Because the physics of it aren't going to work. But in general, right, if you set a push-up goal or a walking goal or a pull-up goal, those things are accomplishable, whatever the number is, through dedication. But in order to reach a number that you currently can't do, you have to push through how hard it is to go from one level to the next. And the only thing holding you back from doing that is your willingness to experience the moment that is, this sucks right now, but I'm gonna push through it and do it, right? Because that's what it takes. You got to go to failure, and then you go to failure, and then you go to failure, and then it gets a little farther out before you fail. And so that's been a big thing for me from a life character perspective, because it built in me that understanding. It just doesn't even matter what it is. There are fundamentals to everything in life. And if you're willing to go through whatever it takes to do those fundamentals, and you consistently do them, whether you feel like it or not, when it hurts or not, your character gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And life truly does. It gives you the test first, and then you get the lesson. And it requires character, right? Character shows up. Who you are shows up when things are difficult. It doesn't. Who you want to be doesn't show up. Who you are right now, and so I looked at it like that too, which is why I exercise that way. So my 3 days a week is my pull-up day, and the other 3 days a week are push-ups, leg exercises, and dips. And core is 6 days a week in and of that. And so, currently my push-ups and dip days are 801 of those together, in addition to my core and leg work. And today was a pull-up day, and right now I'm working on a new pull-up goal, consecutive pull-up goal. So I've increased my reps. And so today I think it was 420 pull-ups in my workout, which is a lot. It's hard. It's hard, but again, anybody can do it. I mean, you just have to do them for a long time. So that's how, and it's relatively simple, because I'm working my whole body when I do those things, and I don't get hurt. And I have lots of endurance for the rest of my life as a result of it. So those are big numbers to some people, and they're small numbers to others, which is interesting too, right? Everything is perspective, but they're big numbers for me. They're hard. It's hard, but I do it.
Everything is perspective. Those are big numbers no matter what. I don't even think Jack LaLanne would consider those small numbers. And that's amazing. And you said so many golden things there. A lot of it is that it's going to be hard to have value as far as changing yourself, but also that perspective and understanding of what you're capable of. And gosh, I wish I had, a gold coin for every time I did not want to do a workout and still did it. And you have to have that mindset for that. And I think people,
Kevin, I got to interrupt you for a second. You do have a gold coin. Look at you. Look at your life. That's the
true,
gold coin. You
exactly.
live
It's
in
how
the
you look at
gold
it.
coin. Yeah.
Very true. And that's what we're trying to teach. And I think fitness people have that understanding of how valuable this is and how much you get out of this beyond the visual. And I think a lot of people that aren't, into this yet, into the fitness lifestyle yet, it gives you more than you're going to see until you actually experience it and feel it, like you said. And so I think if more people knew that and understood that and had a chance to feel that, they would be more drawn to taking those steps to get that feeling and get all those benefits from it. And I also think fitness people have a perspective and an appreciation for this, because there's this thing that I call a vanishing point. And I call that the point where if you don't take care of yourself for long enough, then you can get to that point where your options and ability to improve yourself start to vanish. And you may not be able to do the things anymore to bring yourself back. And people look at someone like you or me or an athlete or someone that has a great physique and think, oh, they always had that. If they fell out of a tree, blah, blah, it was always easy. And it's not always easy. There's a value in the time that you put into this and the things that you get out of it. But most people that have played sports or athletes or whatever, they've gone through some kind of injury and they've had that instantaneous vanishing point moment where they got invigorated because they had that taken away from them. And I know for you, you had like a knee replacement surgery. You had knees that were bothering you for a while, and then you actually had the surgery that took you out of it for a while. So I imagine you're even more appreciative now than you were before. So can you tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you and what perspectives you got from that?
Yeah, that was, I did it to myself, which pretty much everything we do in life, we do to ourselves pretty much. Yeah, life happens to us, but most of what happens in our life, we do to ourselves. As I mentioned, I played a lot of basketball as a young guy, and I loved ball. I played seriously organized ball, and then I went totally off the rails. And so then I was I was a guy who showed up at the playground who could play, but wasn't playing anywhere. But here's the weird thing. I played barefooted. I used to play barefoot on asphalt. I went to the University of Maryland. I was known around campus as the guy who played barefooted, because I could play and I didn't wear shoes. I just didn't like shoes. I grew up, with barefooted on the water, and I'm barefooted right now. I'm barefooted 95% of the time of my life. And barefoot on asphalt, we weren't built to do stuff on asphalt, right? Like, there wasn't asphalt till we made asphalt. Right? So barefoot on grass would be fine. Barefoot on asphalt, not so good. And so my knees took an enormous amount of destruction. I mean, they were, so it was in my early 30s, I had my first significant cartilage tear. Obviously I had little tears already, because you would doing that, because of, there's just nothing to cushion that. And by my late 30s, they were already telling me, you're going to need to replace this knee, because there's nothing left in it. And that was my left one. My right was already heavily deteriorated too. I ended up with 4 scopes on the left knee, 1 on the right. It was about 40, I was about 45, 46 and that was my third or fourth arthroscopic procedure, because, I would keep playing, keep doing stuff, because I knew how to take care of myself at that point. I knew what the resources to give my body, nothing artificial. I didn't use medications. I knew the right nutrients to take that would minimize inflammation. So I did not have pain until an incident, until I would hurt it. And so I remember sitting at the orthopedic guy's office, and he's holding up the MRI, and he's like, you're telling me you don't have pain on a general basis? He said, there's nothing in here. I'm like, no. And he's like, how's that possible? And of course, I told him, because I do X, Y, and Z. He didn't want to hear about that, because he didn't understand it. He didn't know anything about that. And he's like, well, you need to replace this. And I'm like, I don't want to have my knee replaced. I'm doing fine until I hurt it. So I kept going. And finally, when I was 52, I did something stupid. I jumped down from a boat that 5 feet off the ground. And as soon as I hit the ground, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a massive mistake. And that threw it totally over. And they're like, you're going to need the right one done too. You want to do that too? I'm like, I don't think so. So I had the left one done. I recovered incredibly fast because I knew the right things to take. If you load up on enzymes and you are totally anti-inflammatory in how you eat, and you treat your recovery like you're getting in shape for something. And that's how I treated it. And now today I have more flexibility. Let's put it this way. I can almost touch my behind with my left heel standing up. I'm this close, so I have as much flexibility. I have more flexibility than I had before. Now I worked it really hard, and I have no issues in my right leg at all, even though it was bone on bone 15 years ago, because I keep my body pretty free of inflammation. As I said, I really don't have any aches and pains, and I'm highly active. But my recovery, there's nothing I can't do. I could play basketball. I don't, because I don't want to do anything that might cause the device to get too torqued, because I don't want to go through it again. It was incredibly difficult. It's incredibly hard. It hurts, right? It really hurts. But life is big. And so I stopped playing basketball because there's a million other things I love to do. I'm a grandfather now. I'm going to want to play with my grandchildren. I like to be out on the water. I like to hang out with my wife. I like to live life full, which is why fitness is so critical. Because as you mentioned, the vanishing point, I think a lot of people don't even realize how much life they miss because they don't physically feel good, because they don't have a lot of energy. And that comes from taking care of your body. And that's the whole package. You can't just exercise. That won't work for you. You can't outrun your fork. You can't do that. It's not possible. It feels that way when you're 20. When you're 35, you already understand that was fake. And when you're 50, if you haven't gotten that memo, you haven't been paying attention. So you got to do the other things that support that. But wow, there's so much life, right? I mean, you mentioned Jack LaLanne, right? And he was a great example. But the gist is you have the physical capacity to have 90% of what you are when you're young, when you're like 90. That's possible. But it won't happen just because you're like, well, I'll wait till I'm 70 to start taking care of myself. No, because you will deteriorate, and then you'll get to the point you mentioned. But you get into your 60s, you have a lot to give. There's a lot to serve. There's a lot of impact that you can make, and you're not going to do any of that. You'll have acquired all this wisdom in life for what? To not be able to do anything with it? I mean, the older you get, the more you understand it's never been about stuff. It's never been about having the most toys. What's that for, right? I mean, you learn that we are wired a certain way for a certain reason, right? If you think about any time people feel bad, it's when they're thinking about themselves. And when you get, I don't care what you're trying to get, whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? You get that thing, and how long does that feeling last? Not very long. It doesn't last very long. Then it's the next thing, right? And of course, the thing, especially if it's a thing, well, sooner or later, that thing isn't good enough anymore. You need a different thing. You need a better thing. You need two of those things. Whatever. What's the old saying, right? Love people, not things. Use things, love people, right? That's a real thing. But if you think about the opposite perspective, when you go do something good for someone, or you make an impact for someone, that feels good for a long, long time, right? Because you're wired for that. That's what we're here for. And you can't serve. And some people don't like that word. Get over it. I mean, it's a great word. It's a great word. You do good for other people. Man, that's life force. You feel fantastic. That's because that tells you something. That's nature. That's what we're designed to interface and and play our role and do good. We're not just supposed to see what we can accumulate and get. And the key fundamental to every part of your life is your health. That is the one thing that will influence everything else. Right. So yeah, I get that, it's hard sometimes for a mom, right? Because moms are so, right. I mean, their children, it's just an incredible bond. But you got to take care of yourself if you're a mom, because you will not be your best for your child, and you'll miss a lot of the future with that child if you don't take care of yourself. I mean, you're doing your child a favor by taking care of yourself. You're not taking away from the child. It's an act of service if you think about it. Anyway, Kev, I'm sorry, I went.
Don't apologize. There's gold in them there hills, and yeah, the last point you're making about with moms, and again about prioritizing ourselves, and we get it. You have to take care of those children, and you run out of time. And my latest course that I created, 7 Solutions for a Fitness Transformation, was actually the genesis of that was talking to a friend who had been a competitor, and now that she had a couple of children, her lifestyle had changed so much, and she was not doing anything for herself, and her fitness had gone in another direction. And it was a series of talks to get her to understand that she still needed to do that, and just she had a limiting belief of what that would require of her, going to the gym 5 6 days a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. No, just get your 20 to 30 minutes in 3 days a week and just get going in a good direction. But just to prioritize yourself and do that. And we have an appreciation, like you said, as we get older, of how our bodies are. And so you're like, I had to give up basketball from injuries, and baseball, which was my first love. I'd rather play baseball than eat. And I got into training in natural bodybuilding, and my plan was originally to come back and go out for baseball again and go in that direction when I was in college. And I was just enjoying my new lifestyle and the fact that no one could take that from me. And it's like, I didn't want to like put my body at risk again. And you may have asked yourself this question, like, there's so many things you could compete in for what you're doing. Like, there's high rocks out there, there's CrossFit out there, and I love all these competitive sports, and the athletes are amazing, and I follow them. But I wouldn't want to. I like to be in control of what I'm doing, so that I can take care of the little tweaks that I know I have, or the problems I know I have. And like you said, I don't want to go get another injury. I don't want to go and lose something that I don't need to lose. And so it's a little bit self-focused in terms of that health, as far as making sure that I keep it, because that appreciation is higher and I know how fast it can go away. And so you want to maximize it. And yeah, you still have to have fun. You still need to enjoy what you're doing and find those things that pull you forward. It doesn't feel like work, but keeping this and trying to still improve it, that's so important. And the other thing you were saying is, like, the other side of the coin, you can't out train a bad diet. And so you have to have, you know, a base of nutrition that's going to allow you to be successful and healthy, and have the energy and the recovery and the longevity and the health. And like, you also believe in using nutritional supplements as part of that. I know some people don't. And I was introduced to an amazing company called Life Plus, that you've actually had a 30-year anniversary with. Congratulations on that again. But can you tell people, like, how you eat throughout the day and what some of your philosophies are, and some of the supplements that you've liked and you feel have helped you, that other people, can compare that to what they think or feel or have tried?
Yeah, but happy to. Food wise, it's very simple for me. I follow something that I call the 5 and 2. So 5 days a week, I eat incredibly clean. And I only eat 2 meals a day. I eat at noon and I eat at 6. It doesn't mean I only get nutrients 2 times a day. I get nutrients a lot of the day, but I only eat meals at lunch and at dinner. And those are primarily fruits, vegetables, lean proteins. That's my food. And I don't look at food and it doesn't as an event, not that I don't enjoy a good meal. And, yeah, there's certain times when it's nice to go out to dinner and have some fun. But in general, it's fuel. That's how I look at it. It's fuel and resources for my body. To me, it's like it's inconvenient. I'd rather be doing something else, but I'll take the time and, make sure I put the right things in. And then, so there's other 2 days a week, I'll eat whatever I want. I don't care what it is. It doesn't make any difference because 6 days a week I'm exercising, 7 days a week I'm active, I'm hydrating all the time. And then I supplement massively. And I'm just gonna speak this back to Kevin, to something that you said. Anyone who doesn't believe you need to supplement has not done the research, period. I learned this in the early 90s, right? Already food was not adequate to meet nutritional needs, especially for the environment we live in today, and certainly not the food that we get today. And so I've been supplementing for years. The reason I ended up with 30 years with Life Plus is these were by far the best products I've ever seen. And I'm not a person that says something good because I promote it. I only talk about stuff I truly believe in. That's how I ended up with this company, which is just such a wonderful organization. And so the way that I supplement is very simple, even though I use a lot of different things. So platform-wise, you have to nourish your body and cleanse your body daily. It's not something that you do once a year. It's a daily thing because that's how your body uses it. I mean, I just did a little thing today on your brain, right? So your neurotransmitters, which are responsible for essentially it's a massive number, like trillions of chemical reactions that are taking place all the time. The signals that I just did that, right? Did I do that by consciously thinking about moving my hand? No, my brain sent a signal to my hand based on what I was doing through a neurotransmitter, right? So, and what does a neurotransmitter require? A nutrient, right? So everything requires nutrients. So you want to flood your body with nutrients. But you nourish and cleanse on a daily basis. And then, again, my whole genesis for getting involved in health and fitness and wellness, wellness is a much bigger word than just health and fitness, but was at first, it was avoidance of cancer and heart disease. That was the purpose, which immediately led me to antioxidants, which is a higher level of protection in the cells. Sort of like, it's something as simple as your level of cholesterol is not what the problem is. It's how much of your cholesterol is being oxidized in your bloodstream because you don't have enough antioxidants to counterbalance what's happening in your body. It's simple. But anyway, and so, nourish, cleanse, and protect my cells as a platform. And then I use a lot of different specialty nutrients. And I use a lot of stuff before I work out. Daily by Basics, which is a product that you're familiar with. It's the highest value, smartest supplement anyone could use because it's fruits and vegetables, vitamins and minerals, fiber, probiotics, special greens, and antioxidants, all in a powder, and it's raw nutrition. It's like, boom, your body's like, thank you very much for that, covering the base. And then I use, I love the fitness products, and I never used fitness products before these because I don't trust most of the stuff in the marketplace. And I'm not interested in stuff that makes me wacky or is unclean. I want to know that what I'm using is actually clean and has been highly tested for activity and purity. And they have a wonderful pre-workout and a fabulous electrolyte product and an incredible BCAA product. So those are part of my regimen. And there's too many supplements for me to talk about. I don't want to make your interview here about supplements, but I supplement at a high level, multiple times the RDA in every single category. And the results are the results. I don't have any health issues. I literally haven't had a single day where I was sick, as in felt sick, in almost 9 years. Now, the older you get, right, the less efficient your body is. All you got to do the research. It's easy to research nowadays and find the truths. but the older you are, the more you should be getting in your body. And so anyway, yeah, it's been a big part of my health journey. I attribute a substantial amount of my ability to even do the stuff that I do to what I put in my body. And again, I am not a saint. I like to have fun. And when I have fun, I have fun. But you got to operate on a general basis. Like your body is like one of the most important things you can take care of.
Yeah, that's so true. And like you, like I believe for a long time that it's impossible, virtually impossible to get that optimum amount of nutrients just from our food. And I come from a background of bodybuilding and eating like I've had 5 to 6,000 calorie a day meals and still trying to get the nutrients that I needed. And whereas people that are dieting and always trying to minimize what they're eating, and like when I coach people for shows, like you're not getting anywhere close to what you should be getting just because of the low calories that you have. Not to mention the food quality and what's going on with that. And I remember debating this with my nutrition instructors years ago. And as far as the supplement industry goes, I have an extensive background and I worked in the health food store for 6 years and managed Gold's Gym for 8 years. And we had massive pro shops. And I know how some of those companies have two or three good products and the rest of them are often not that good, and most companies don't make their own products, where this company actually does. They are a manufacturer. And so I don't want this to sound much like a commercial, but if you're a member of Team Bodysport Fitness, there's a section in the classroom about Life Plus, and I'm going through and talking about the individual products where you could just check them out and learn more about them if that's something that interests you. If not, that's fine. But if you find some things that you like, that's awesome too. But definitely consider giving yourself the optimal amount of nutrients in the best way you can by eating as best as you can first. And then if you really want to be your best, supplementing might be a great option for you. And thank you for sharing that, Todd. So to wrap up here, looking back over all of it and looking at people who are either getting into fitness and trying to keep it going, or just haven't discovered it yet, or like, what advice could you give to someone that you wish someone had told you, or that you're glad you followed, that some insight that you learned just about fitness and longevity and the value it has to help nourish their drive to either start or keep going?
So I think the first thing that I would say is, first of all, get away from the noise, get away from gimmicks, fads, magic tricks, because there are lots of people that are going to prey on you. And you're also going to have a desire to shortcut the process. You can't out hack fundamentals. Nobody does, right? So anyone who tries to do a quick fix never gets anything. They're continuously trying quick fixes. So when you accept that it's fundamentals and time and commitment and dedication, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do 420 pull-ups in a day. Now, if you want to work your way to that, fine. But you might have to work your way to do one. There's ways to do that. And that's how it starts. You really do, right? A baby crawls. Well, first they got to roll over. They got to get to the point where they can roll over. Then they start getting to the point where they can get up on their knees. Then they get to the point where they can crawl. Then they get to the point where they start trying to stand up. Then they get to the point where they start trying to walk. Then they get to the point where they walk. Then they get to the point where they start trying to run. But they don't just go, it's time to run. And that's the process of life that never changes in anything. And so that's the first thing, is the mindset is it's a journey. It's not something you're going to do overnight. And crowd, anything that tells you that you need to turn your back on that and don't allow it in your space. And then you need to be basic, right? So if it starts with a walk, start with a walk, but get in the mindset, right? The mindset that it's not optional, then to make the commitment that every day you're going to show up. I would encourage you to carve out a specific space in your day like it's an appointment with yourself, and you won't break it. Just like if you had an appointment somewhere else, you're not breaking that, right? Don't break an appointment with yourself. And show up. And when you make that commitment and you show up every day, that's the self-discipline. There are going to be plenty of days, especially early, where you don't feel like doing it, right? So I would encourage you not to go too hard at first. Work your way in, right? So that you're not adding to that by over-stressing yourself, especially if you're brand new. But each day you self-discipline, you're getting closer to habit. And there'll be a point. It won't take long before you emotionally feel good about having done it. That's a reward, by the way, and grasp that. But once you get into it for a few weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks of consistently showing up, you won't just have the emotional reward. You'll notice. I, I'm not as tired. I can walk farther. Or if you're doing push-ups, or if you're lifting weights, whatever, you're more comfortable. Now you can push it a little farther again. Now you start to increase because you're now changing that self-discipline to habit. And here's the winning formula is what happens next. Once you have habit, that's because you're getting a positive result, right? Now you've conditioned that. But after a while of the habit, the fruit becomes so abundant for you, it becomes lifestyle. There's not even any thought. There's no thought involved. It's just, there it is, doing it. And then you can really start playing around with it, but start very fundamental. Move your body, resistance. When you're ready for resistance, sooner is better. The older you are, the resistance even more important than the aerobic, because your muscles, they're what support you. They're what allow you to roll around on the floor with your kids. They're what allow you to go play ball in the backyard with your grandchild. Or if you want to be active doing something, you have to have musculature, and you don't get to have that without working for it. There's no hack for it. You have to do it. So I say you start. It doesn't have to be big, 15, 20 minutes a day, fundamentally, and then make sure you're feeding your body the resources. I mentioned the pre-workout product. If you put something in your body that's clean, that gives you a little lift, now you feel like doing even when you don't feel like doing it. So those are the kinds of hacks that you would use, things that help you do the thing you already decided that you're going to do. Keep it to the fundamentals, support your body, and give it time and patience. And you will be so happy. And so will the people in your life, because you'll start showing up in a different way, and it'll be reflected. It'll be reflected in your work. It'll be reflected in your relationships. It'll be reflected in the mirror eventually, but that's actually not why you do it. That's just a visible representation of doing it. But that would be my advice, Kevin, if that is what you were looking for.
Wow, thank you. And for everyone that's watching this on Team Bodysport Fitness and you're part of that community, I also have a written interview that I did with Todd, and I'll have that there so you can see some more details, and all of his links will be there. And if you're checking this on YouTube, you can check him out at toddburrier.com. And I'll also put the link in there for 3 Circles Living. And I'll put a link in there where you can actually go to Team Bodysport Fitness and take a free trial and see this interview again, and also see other interviews and all the content that's there, all the courses that I have, and be a part of the community. But I really want to thank you, Todd, for taking the time. And is there anything else you want to say about how people can contact you, or where they might find you, or anything like that?
I have a blog site that I've had for years, toddburrier.com. Where I have a lot of resources on there. Not tons of resources for fitness. My focus has always been the overall person. There are plenty of articles on there for health, but there's lots more life skill stuff on there. There's that. You can find me on social, but I don't spend a lot of time on social. I'd like to spend more time in the real world, but can.
Awesome. Yeah, Todd's a great mentor for personal growth and development, and which fitness can always obviously be an important part. So if that's something that you're into, definitely check out toddburrier.com. And again, Todd, thank you for being here. And everyone else, thank you for joining us. And We'll see you next time. Train hard, grow easy, and stay healthy.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Bye, everybody.